What's good? What's good, everybody? It's the Activated One New Brighton, the Futurtarian. This video is going to be on learning something new versus learning something old. First off, what we're going to do first off, we're going to break down what is new. New is something next. New is something through the atmosphere. Something next coming through the atmosphere. Something that hasn't been invented on this rock in this day and time. Because everything, like I said, when you're dealing with 14 billion years, this is the past dealing with 14 billion years. Everything that's in the future, like I said in my last video, this stuff on this planet is 9 billion years old. So when you learn something new is an invention. It's an invention, or it is a new term, a new sentence, new dialogue. That's what new really means. And when you look at the dictionary version of it, it really doesn't state, because when you learn something old, something that already had played out, that happened, you learned something old. That wasn't new. It's new to you, but it's not new to time. It's not new to time. It's old to time, new to you. But technically speaking, it's old. Information is old. Information is stuff that already had played out and happened. See, when you're dealing with intel, dealing with intelligence, and intel is focused on signals and focused on receivers, signals, receivers, and tapping in to that frequency, just like your car radio. When you tap into 96.3, 101.3, that's a frequency that you're tapping into. It's the same thing with the universe. The universe has a frequency galactical code system that you can tap into, but people are not worthy to be tapped into that frequency because they're not activating themselves. Well, New Brighton, how do you activate yourself? You have to be activated through somebody who is intelligent. You can't get activated through school, college, research. It's not going to happen. You have to go through a person. You have to go through somebody to get activated. You have to be fed intel. See, because when you're fed information, then information is going to be a good source. Information is a good source when you're dealing with objects. When you're dealing with these objects, what's an object? A thing. Money, people, cars, homes, addresses, products, investments. On that aspect, then yeah, information's good. But when you're dealing with the age of Aquarius and tapping into the age of intel, the age of intel is happening right now. Certain ones are being tapped in, but everybody's not going to be tapped in because everybody's not an intelligent being. Everybody's not going to be fed intel through the atmosphere, because your DNA has to be activated. Your mind has to be on a certain frequency, and your DNA has to be activated, aka junk DNA, which is not junk, but I just use that term because that's what people are familiar with. It's a junk DNA, and that has to be activated through your mind system and your neurotransmitters in your mind, and the frequencies that you can tap into to receive something that's next, that makes sense, that people haven't heard before, or making an invention, something that's futuristic, something that came through the atmosphere. Because everything that you think of is not your thoughts. Literally, everything that you think of is not your thoughts. It came from somewhere. Being 9 billion years behind in technology, then that means that there's the technology. Because when you look at when you look at the universe and you look at it from a Google standpoint, and you Google the universe, everything is connected by what? Everything is connected by invisible energy source. That's where you get the internet from, where you get the web, where you get websites. Web, because everything's connected. How is it connected? It's connected through the web. using the spider web as an example, but that's why they call it the web. Then they moved it to the Ethernet or the internet. People call it the internet, but that's the galactical web. Everything is connected, so you can tap into these frequencies and also receive something that's next. Even you can get a boost from a certain energy source. You can get a boost depending if you're worthy or not. You can get a boost. That's where all these inventions came from. When our ancestors was making all these inventions, because they were still tapped in. They were tapping in to those frequencies. Well, New Brighton, how do you tap into those frequencies? You have to, so first off, for one, how you can tap in, for one, you got to stop watching TV. That is off the bat. See, because when you watch TV and you're dealing with those, because TV is a frequency also. Each channel is a different frequency. That's why you get a different visual and sound aspect from each channel, because it's a different frequency. Dealing with cable, dealing with satellite, and also just dealing with the standard digital antennas. And remember the old school antennas? What was the old school antennas? They were the bunny ears. They were the bunny ears receiving that intel, receiving them frequencies. Now, if you look at the rock and roll symbol, what is the rock and roll symbol? The rock and roll symbol is your pinky and your index finger, right? Your pinky and your index finger. That's the rock and roll symbol. What actually, when you see, other people hitting it up, some presidents hitting the rock and roll symbol up. Some people, in power hitting the rock and roll symbol up. That's a sign that they're tapped into a frequency. That's what that means. That's the bunny ears on your TV antenna. That's what that is. It's the bunny ears on your TV antenna, tapping into that frequency. I'm gonna give you another example dealing with the intel, because I ain't put a lot of intel out, but I'm gonna trickle it here and there. But I'm not gonna pull it on full force, because once I get other stuff rolling on, I'm gonna start pulling it on full force when people start paying for it. Look at the football goalposts. The football goalposts. What are those? Right? What's the biggest sport? What's the biggest sport in the United States of America? Right? It's football. It's the biggest sport. Worldwide, it's it's the other football, which is called soccer in the US. That's the biggest sport worldwide. What's the second biggest sport worldwide? Right? I think it's football. I'm not sure, because I don't want to, dealing with Google and the stats and all that stuff, but I'm pretty sure it's football. But that's why they had the goalposts up there, because when you watch those football games and you watch stuff that's going on television, dealing with entertainment, internally taming your mental. When you're dealing with that goalpost is a symbolic symbol to putting you on a frequency. What frequency is that, New Brighton? It's the frequency of you being stuck in a hamster wheel. The hamster wheel frequency. What is a hamster wheel frequency when you're dealing with sports? Because each time, each year, each season that goes by, what are you going to do? You're going to be anticipating the next season. What is that? That's a hamster wheel. You didn't even go nowhere mentally. You waiting on the next rookie to come out of college, this and that. Yeah, entertainment, when you're using it for um the dictionary definition, and then you have the stealth definition of it, which it means internally taming your mental. Enter what? Your mind. And then do what to it? Tame it, right? And then short for mental, internally taming your mental. But if you're going to use it on leisure time and you just go there, you because even like I don't watch sports, but I'll catch it. I'll catch sports. I'm not going to be going out and about, and it's the playoffs, and the game comes on at 3:30. Anybody who's intelligent, I'm talking to the intelligent ones that's receiving the intel. I'm not talking to the intelligent ones that are not receiving intel, because there's a difference. When somebody be like, or say something to me, as far as, you know what time the game comes on, this and that. Yeah, I might know what time the game comes on, but I'm not rushing to get home. I'm still going about my day because I'm not tapped into that frequency. See, when you're tapped into that frequency, that's your concern. That's your mechanism. You put your day and what you're doing around that day around these sports, these rigged, dumb, stupid sports. And with the football, I had to tell this one brother because a lot of people, majority of people are just slow. The majority of people are smart dummies. And I was watching football with him. I went over to this guy's house. It wasn't even. It was just an associate. I went over there with another associate. But they were watching the game, and he had said, "Man, he's like, man, I don't know why when you kick the ball off in football." I'm talking to the men right now because they know about football. When you kick the ball off a couple of years ago, they had moved it up 5 yards. So now when you kick the ball off, there's really no returns. There's really no kickoff returns. And I told him, I said, you know why they did that? He's like, why? I said, so they could control the game more. Because when you're dealing with the joystick, you was dealing with the joystick. Who else was a nice running back? Deion Sanders, Scrolls. People that just run it back just out the blue. Because if you're trying to control a football game and you get down to the wire, you can't really control the kickoff. You can't really control the kickoff because you know why? The offensive line's not on it. The offensive line is not on the damn on the field. Now, if you was trying to rig it, check this theory out. If you was trying to rig a football game, who would you be focused on more in a football game? Who would you want to control the most in a football game? You would want to control the offensive line. Well, why you say that, New Brighton? Why would you want to control the offensive line? Because when you control the offensive line, then you control what the quarterback can do and what the quarterback cannot do. And then, because I didn't even watch the Super Bowl, I was watching it here and there. I was at the casino when the Super Bowl was on. We had went out to the casino, and I was watching, skip it here and there, here and there. And if you look at the Super Bowl and you see why that mulatto quarterback from Kansas City, and he was getting tackled and sacked, and that don't even make no sense when you're dealing with somebody that's that athletic. You know why? Because if you control the offensive line, you could control the game. But that's just entertainment. It's WWE wrestling. All this stuff is WWE wrestling. Mass majority of it, you might as well throw on some knee high boots, lace them up, put a black Speedo on, go lift weights for 2 months, and go to the WWE. If you want to play football or basketball, but see, that's the thing with a lot of the so-called black race. They're so stuck on making money through these people, through the Jews, through the owners, that they don't really care because they thinking about they're being selfish. They're not looking at the long-term effect of it. If they all would just lead a league and stop playing basketball, stop playing football, and just left, you'll see the sports system fall. But they ain't gonna do that. You know why? Because they good coon ass niggas. That's just how it is. I'm just gonna say it just like that. They just good coon ass niggas. That's why they let the money and all that stuff blind the future aspect of their people. If that's what they want to do, fine. But when you come across somebody intelligent, we already reading all through that smiling and all those football stories and basketball stories. We're reading all through that. But anyway, back to the video. That's why when you learn something new, that's even dealing with sports. I'm going to use sports for an example. Right? I'm going to use sports for an example. When you learn how to run the football, catch the ball, throw it, and then you come home and you tell your father or your mother, like, oh, I learned something new today. I learned this play. It was that if it was a play that nobody's never saw before, if it was a play that nobody never saw before, that's a new play. You didn't learn nothing new. You learned something old. Oh, I learned a new play today. It was it was a screenplay and this and that, because in their minds they really think they learned something new. It's an illusion. New comes from individuals. It comes from individuals that's tapped into frequencies. That's what's new. What's next? What inventions? right? New phrases, breaking down stuff, decoding stuff, because if you're futuristically in the future, you can decode and break down a lot of this stuff without even going on Google or going, because like I said, Google, Siri, and Alexa, they're good for people, places, and things. That's what they're good for. They're really good with that. But when they want to come with some intel or come with some futuristic, what do? They throw people off. Just like this one it was online. This one so-called white dude asked Siri when was 2021, and Siri had told him it was 365 days from now. I'm like, that is artificial intelligence. That they could tell you anything, and people actually will believe that shit because they said it. But that's how you cause confusion. That's how you cause the mindset of people to be in that hamster wheel going nowhere. That's what I said. When you learn something, you learn something new. That's something that is an invention, something that you're breaking down futuristically, that's coming through the atmosphere, something that's next, dealing with technology, inventions, new type of, apps, new apps, new. That's new. That's what's new. You didn't learn nothing new. You learned something old. When you go into the dictionary, or you go into an encyclopedia and you start reading stuff, that's old. All that stuff is old. Why do you think these governments on the planet right now, they're always focused on intel? They don't give a damn about no information. They're always focused on what's next, what's coming in through the atmosphere. What frequencies can we tap into? They worried about none of that old shit. That's why, especially our people, when they be focused on that old stuff, especially dealing with doctrines, the Bible, the Quran, all that old, dusty books, and be wondering why they can't tap into nothing, is because they're tapped into doctrines. They're tapped into that old philosophy, old books, because ain't no religion in the future. Especially in the upper dimensions. There ain't no religion there. Christianity, all that stuff. That stuff's going to fade away into nothing, dust. And then you're going to believe in that stuff, especially in this day and lifetime, in this life that you're in right now. You're going to fade in the dust with it. It is what it is. And in some cases, it is what it's not. Learning something new versus learning something old. What else is new? What else is old? People say, when they learn a different language. Well, I learned a new language. That language wasn't new. That was an old language. You've been using that language for 6,000 years. Now, if you make up your own language and come with some different, then yeah, you learned something new then. See, this is the age of Aquarius, so all this stuff is getting put on the table. Everything's getting put on the table. There's no, people, especially these people that are educated. They got all these degrees, and their purpose is not for intel. Their purpose is to serve society on that way, on the physical aspect, not on the intellectual aspect. Their purpose is to serve society. They got degrees. You might be a doctor, you might be a lawyer, you might be into, marketing, financing, whatever that you're into, that all that stuff deals with Google. See, we passed Google, Siri, and Alexa. We going past that. There is no limitations. That's one thing I like about Master P. When Master P named his record label No Limit, that was like the best name ever. That was the best name. A shout out to Master P too, man. Because even though he was pushing that poison in the neighborhood and telling his gang stories, pushing that poison to the people, right? But a lot of people ain't in the future anyway. See, I'm starting to evolve and really realize that. A lot of people ain't look at the black race community right now. You got all these other races inside the community taking the money out the community and going and building their communities with it out the black race, but they allow that. Black people allow that. So you're like, okay, well, let me do it too. I'm gonna go take the money from them and go build my own community too. Sounds messed up, don't it? But that's the reality of stuff. That's what's going on in the black race because there's no fathers in the households. There's no father. Even all the father. Okay, if you even take um um that brother. There's a brother. What's his name? I was just watched him last night. Oh, Kevin Samuels. He was talking about that the percentage rate. 80% of women file for divorce. So even if you take that 80% and you take half of that and you take half the men that actually just left and got up and didn't do nothing, and the ones that was trying to stay and work it out, that's still 40%. That's still 40% that just say, you know what, F it, I'm just going to leave. You know what I'm saying? I'm emotional because your husband, he might have got caught up doing adultery. It might be a lot of the time it's another woman. A lot of the time it's another woman. But that's the thing about black women. They beautiful. They're intriguing, and sometimes men do slip up because that's how beautiful black women are. So-called black women, y'all that beautiful. Sometimes we see a man could be faithful for 20 years, ain't never cheat on you, right? But then he goes that one time he goes out business meeting. He's been working with this lady for 7 years. They go on a business meeting. He sleeps with her that night. His wife finds out, and then she's going to throw away 20 years on her emotions. Not all women. I'm just saying that the stats speak for itself. 80% of so-called black women file for divorce, and you're gonna throw away 20 years because he went and knocked some wound out. You know what I'm saying? Relieve some stress. She could have paid for everything too. She could have paid for the room, the food. He didn't pay for nothing. He just knocked it out the box. Got caught up. Wife, you know what? I'm filing for a divorce because that's always in the back of their head anyway. The ones that do that's always in the back of their head anyway. See, the ones that don't have that in the back of their head, they're not going to do that unless it's real technical, like child molestation or something like that, molested her daughter or something. Then, they might be like, you know what, I can't do this. I can't, this and that. I understand that. But the whole point I'm making is that's the whole point. Learning something new versus learning something old. So the majority of the people, over 90% of the people, they learn something old. And then they say it's new. That ain't new. That ain't the end you. That definitely ain't the end you. That's old. You learn something old. When you learn something new, that's intel. That's next. That's why these governments deal with intel, not information. It's the activated new bright 10 and Futurtarian. I want to say peace. And also like, share, subscribe. If you want the world to alter quicker, that's all you gotta do.